Good morning. Good morning and welcome. I want to say Sarah and Jamira both did a great job, so could we give them a hand one more time, please? And really, I want to thank you all for making it here in the heat. You know, it's going to be 100 degrees again today. We had the hottest June on record here in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to be sending this data to my favorite scientist, Sean Hannity. Back in February, we had a big snowstorm here, and Hannity concluded that the snowstorm would seem to contradict what he called hysterical global warming theories. So, Sean, please analyze this latest data and please send us back a fair and balanced report. We're excited again this year to have some terrific speakers at this event, but as always, we're most excited that you are here, young people from nearly every state and territory. Many of you already work with Campus Progress, and for those of you who don't, please talk with our staff. We can bring our programs in activism and journalism and events to your campus or your community. Campus Progress is dedicated to the proposition that your generation doesn't have to wait to change the world. You have the skills, you have the numbers, and you have the power to get things done now. And this year, on issues like health care and affordable education, you proved that you can get things done. You can clap for yourself. Probably the most overused quotation about activism is the one that I'm about to use. But it's overused or heavily used because it's so right. It's from Gandhi. Be the change you want to see in the world. Don't just make change. That sounds like you're giving back coins from $1. Throw all your energy into change and embody change. Agitate for that change like your life depended on it. In Gandhi's great cause, India's independence, people did put their lives on the line, as in many struggles. But frankly, for many of you, things are not always that intense. Activism or advocacy is part of your life, but you can't give your whole selves to a cause 24/7 because you have jobs to do and schools to attend and family members to care for. And causes that you are passionate about may not seem so immediate, urgent, transcendent that you would lay down your lives for them. And that's especially because a great cause like health care or climate protection or human rights, immigration reform, or LGBT equality, once a great cause like that hits the hard pavement in a place like Washington, D.C., it meets the forces of cynicism and wonkiness and big money. It becomes harder, the details become more boring, and lobbyists and bureaucrats will tell you why your dream really can't be achieved, or at least not yet. So, how do you maintain your idealism, your passion and intensity for a cause in the face of all these obstacles? First of all, hold on to your sense of optimism and possibility. Yes, the challenges are hard, but you know what people have accomplished in your own short lifetimes, all the technology breakthroughs, all the countries that were dictatorships and now are trying to build democracy. And we have a strong foundation. Our country has a constitution that protects individual freedom and that has endured for centuries. Our Constitution is not the property of the Tea Party. It belongs to all of us. So hold on to that sense of possibility. Second, hold on to your sense of justice, to your sense of outrage. We heard a little bit of it from our earlier speakers. Outrage at the wrongs that you see and outrage at the lies that get told every day, especially here in this city, Washington, D.C. I've been doing this job now for 6 years, and this is our 6th conference. What has kept me engaged, what has kept me just about the only old person working in the progressive youth world, is simply my admiration for your generation, especially the fact that you don't tolerate phoniness and hypocrisy and lies. Older people, we grew up with spin and euphemisms. We accept it as the way people talk about politics. Your generation doesn't stand for that. You've always been able to Google it to separate fact from fiction. You question the things you hear, and that's good for democracy and good for solving problems. But you live in a world of lies. Do any of you have older relatives who forward you emails full of lies? lies that can be disproven with clicks to reliable sources. In 2 seconds, you can disprove them, but they still get mailed all over the place. Lies about healthcare reform and what it will do. Lies about the effects of global warming. Lies about gays and lesbians and about Muslims and about immigrants. Lies about the President of the United States simply because he comes from a background different from previous presidents. I don't think Winston Churchill would admire the modern conservative movement with all the untruths that get told in these emails and on the Fox News channel and on the Rush Limbaugh radio show. You know, Churchill once said, "A lie gets halfway around the world before the truth gets a chance to put its pants on." And that's the truth. These lies spread, and people believe them, and they don't know how to disprove them, but you do. You should be outraged that professional conservatives and special interest lobbyists are paid to hide and distort the truth. You should be outraged that Congress and the Supreme Court, the conservatives in Congress and on the Supreme Court, have created a situation where big money can dominate the message, can distort politics. And you should be outraged that millions of gallons of oil have spilled into the Gulf, destroying the lives of hardworking Americans, and yet oil companies and politicians and all their paid helpers continue to block reforms to create clean energy and the green jobs that we need. You should be outraged that despite landmark legislation, which was in our movie, to reform student aid, family wealth remains an enormous, enormous factor in deciding whether and where a young person can go to college. And so many young people grow up with poor nutrition and failed schools and violent streets, as Jamira was discussing. You should be outraged that in your short lifetime, in the short lifetime of your generation, governments have continued to engage in terrible violations of human rights, from Darfur to China to the Abu Ghraib prison. You should be outraged that young men and women across this country brought here as young children with no home to go home to, but who are undocumented immigrants, can't go to college or get jobs. They did nothing wrong, and as the President said last week, they deserve a path to citizenship. Congress should pass the DREAM Act. And that's what you will be talking about tomorrow, those of you who will be coming with us to talk with Congress on our Advocacy Day. By the way, we polled attendees in advance of this event, and a lot of you participated in that. And the number one issue that they said was important to them in this election was jobs, the economy, of course. But number two was immigration. You should be outraged that Don't Ask, Don't Tell isn't already gone, that men and women who risk their lives in the armed forces are still officially subject to dismissal if they tell the truth about their sexual orientation. You should be outraged that in the year 2010, with all the developments in this world and all of what you know that's right, millions of Americans are prohibited by law still from marrying the person that they love. That is wrong. So what should you do with all that outrage that I'm urging you to hold on to? You should use it and be the change. Hold on to your optimism because things can be better. Build power for your generation and stand up and fight back. Thank you all very much.